It's Friday, it's 12:30, and it can only mean one thing, that I'm live and loud with none other than the master of PR and content himself, Mr. Jerry Lyons.
You
How you doing,
are
Jerry?
on form today. I can just tell you've got this. You're emitting this positive energy that I love. I just wish I was there with you. I'm good.
It's the end of what has been a long week, let me tell you. And a week is a long time in conference world. We were discussing how to accept an award with dignity. And as you well know, dignity and awards have very much been in the press this week. So as a man that is all over PR nightmares, what would you have done?
Right, so we're talking about the negotiator conference on Friday, and in particular, the entertainment.
Correct, yeah.
Right, so it was burlesque. I do think it was ill-advised. I do.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say.
I think it was a bit of a PR own goal. What interests me more is the handling of the PR after the event. So the state agent today it was a balanced piece because it could be seen as them bashing a rival, but they balanced the piece. And it contained Grant from the negotiators' comments about why they put it on, why they had that theme, that sort of thing. I thought that, and listen, I weren't there. Right, so I'm not in a position to go, it was terrible, it was this, it was that, because I simply wasn't there. It sounds like it was in poor taste, but I wasn't there.
So here's a couple of comments. I mean, I've spoken extensively about this with Simon on our podcast on Sunday, and I don't necessarily want to sort of just rehash that, but I think that one thing that it has taught us is that you can't afford to just assume that the content is going to basically be okay. I think standards now are different. Expectations are different. And what you need to deliver up to that audience is different. And yeah, some people might say I'm just being a snowflake and that I need to get real about it. But the truth is, if you're planning an event in 2022 and you're choosing some entertainment, it's unlikely going forward anybody's going to be making the same mistake.
Yeah.
And because I think you know that if you even fall into the category of somebody that might offend half your audience or a large, or a good percentage of your audience, I think you need to try and avoid it at all costs. Now, it's interesting because a lot of people I spoke to went, well, what are they meant to put on as entertainment? But there's so much that you can do on an evening like that. You don't necessarily... The entertainment themes have been fairly consistent for the past sort of 4 or 5 years. It's never really been sort of... It's always been a little bit saucy. I think that's the truth, and that might feel a bit smutty to some people. I don't know.
Like I said, I weren't there. I did see one comment that did make me sort of not laugh, but I thought, right. I saw, like industry events are not stag do's.
Yes.
And I agree. Also, they're not hen do's. I've been to a few and listen, male and female behaviour when alcohol is involved is equally as bad, possibly. The worrying thing about this incident, right, is it's in an area where people feel so uncomfortable saying something that might be seen as contrary to the general opinion.
It's interesting.
And silence is the worst thing. There needs to be dialogue, not monologue.
Yeah, I mean, to me, this had the potential to sort of verge onto, I suppose, what they call in the mainstream press cancel culture, isn't it? Where you get to the point where people are that upset or offended by something that it then effectively shuts it down forevermore. And I'm not sure whether that's actually going to take place.
Likely to happen, no?
I think it will definitely change the format of events going forward. I think there's going to have to be really sort of long and hard sort of contemplation before going out to an audience and trying to work out as well that balance between educational content or inspirational content and just having an ease up and having a good time. Because if an event is just all about an award and having a good time, well, then that's okay. But there are events that try to sort of take a bite out of each pie, and they go for, we'll do a bit of inspiration, then we'll do some awards, and there are different tones to different awards ceremonies. That's for sure.
Ultimately, people can vote with their feet and their wallets and purses. You know, if they don't like.
We have a larger issue with how the chunk of the man room felt it was appropriate to be. Oh.
I don't understand this one though, Megan.
Okay, so I think what Megan's saying is that there was, just as you said earlier, when alcohol's involved, people get free and easy free and loose with their speech, maybe with their behaviour, and I think they probably assume too much sometimes. And I think that
here's the thing, as you know, I'm a, what would I call myself? I'm going to say teetotal because I was drunk like a maniac in the past. Not a reformed alcoholic either. Basically, someone who hasn't had a drink in 5 years. And I said to one of our team earlier today when I was speaking about this, David, I said, I can't think of anywhere I'd least like to be than a room full of 1,000 drunk estate agents, male or female. And I know but I'm just being honest. I'm not just estate agents, people. I don't want to be around drunk people when I'm sober. To be honest, they're bored. And
I like a drink as much as the next man, as long as that next man isn't Simon Whale. Look, I think it's fair to say this. I think you can have a good time without getting completely so off your face that you cannot make good life decisions anymore. I think that's really important. So off your face that your behavior to other individuals doesn't come across as, threatening or overreaching or overstepping a mark. You become over familiar with people.
It's really simple. It's simple about behavior, right? Just don't be. I can't think of a clean word for it. But would you behave like that? We've got daughters. Would you behave like that if you knew your daughter was watching?
And
you know what I mean? You shouldn't.
Megan is somebody's daughter.
It's terrible. What Megan's saying is that shouldn't happen to anyone. That they feel uncomfortable. Yeah, pest. It's just the worst of estate agency. Is it the worst of society when you get?
The one comment I would have is, I don't think it's estate agents in general. I don't think our industry attracts any one kind of personality more than another. I think that it's just a general comment on how we spend our downtime, and how much of a good time you have to have, and how you behave whilst that is going on. So yeah, you need to moderate it, and I think we all need to get better at looking out for one another. So if you've got a mate that's going that way, what do you do in that situation? Do you get them out of there as quickly as possible? Is it time for an early night at some point? So I think we all got responsibilities to make sure that everybody's safe, but also that everybody is behaving, or at least on their best behavior. So I think it's going to change things. I think I think people are going to think about this, and I think what's really interesting is that the women in a state agency group who have got their own conference going on in, I think it's March, I'd like to say. I think that's going to be interesting in terms of what the format of that will be, and what will be, what the tone will be, and how they strike the balance of leading with a very strong female voice and agenda, but at the same time making room for the men in the room to participate as well. So it's going to be interesting. It's a sort of a massive kind of role reversal, isn't it?
Yeah, it'd be interesting. You know what? I do think good luck to them as well. What I will say as well, one thing that really struck me, maybe it's because I come from such a multicultural background, where, to be honest, where I grew up, sort of white English people were in the minority. But when I see the judging panel for the negotiators, I'm like, this does not represent the country I know. It definitely doesn't represent London or the major cities. It is the whitest lineup I've seen. And I know I've got a very good friend who's an agency owner of colour, and he says at these events he can count on one hand normally the amount of people of colour that. Now, we've got a real problem with the industry with that. getting people from other backgrounds in, because that's the way you get better. Not when all the same circle, having the same ideas and having the same arguments, talking the same shite.
And you know what? It's not an industry thing necessarily, in as much as a state agency does not have people of color or minorities in it. No, absolutely not. There are dozens and dozens and dozens, if not hundreds, of estate agencies up and down the country that serve their local communities that have a very high percentage of sort of one particular ethnicity or background or whatever, and very often run by owners of a similar background. It's just that they're not at these awards. They've not been included.
Here's two things the negs can learn from this just gone. Three things, actually, in my opinion. That's the longest shortlist in history. A journalist will laugh at that long list, their shortlist. They will laugh. I've been in newsrooms where somebody's been saying, "Oh, look, these local businesses have been shortlisted." There's 20 businesses. That's not a shortlist. That's a long list. Yeah. So let's get that right. So that's number one. Make your shortlist a shortlist. Number two, you have to address this entertainment / women feeling uncomfortable issue. That's not right. You have to address that. Right. Number three, why not actively go out of your way and get rid of the usual suspects who seem to judge everything? I'd like to know how many of them are doing it and telling people how to do it. What's that Jay-Z line? Loads of people can tell you to do it, but they never did it. Yeah. Well, they did it so long ago, it's a different game altogether now. So I'm just getting lined up. Roy Keane, content coming out, David. Actively get people of colour or people from different backgrounds, different religions, different sexualities, whatever. Get them on board. Say, look, we need to mix this up because this is the usual suspects. Right? Let's get this straight.
I agree. I wholeheartedly agree with that.
These events are normally so boring because it's the same people talking the same old shit. Right? Let's get new people in. What do you say about that, Mincy? You thought you were getting a...
I thought it was going to be an easy one today, Jerry. I thought it was going to be easy. I thought we were going to coast this one. I think the diversity issue is clear that needs to be addressed. It's not that we haven't got. It's not that it cannot be, because I know. I mean, I'll say it plain and simple. I myself have fallen guilty of being very niche with my audience, my local audience of customers, largely from the Jewish community, and I'm Jewish.
That's different. That's totally different.
No. But what I'm saying is, there ain't just one David Mintz out there, but I only see one David Mintz sat in that room, and that is the issue. I think we need to go further to find better examples of people that are doing wonderful things in their community that aren't just the usual suspects, that aren't just that same 10% of the industry that you keep seeing circulating between the different event halls and so on. And it's something to do with how organizations engage outside of London. That's another thing as well.
But you know, Manchester's very multicultural. Birmingham's massively multicultural.
Yeah.
Bristol.
Huge.
What about these areas? Let's get some
in the provinces outside of that sort of M25. Get
some people that talk like me, David, that are ill-educated.
You talk like Dick Van Dyke from Mary Poppins.
Northern Monkey.
Oh, really? Really?
Yeah. That's where we're going.
Chimney, chim. Okay. Before we go down that road, I agree. I think they do exist out there. You can find them. You need to go further to find them, and they're excellent agents in their own way. They're doing sometimes they're doing a very different job, and the way that, and there's some things to learn from the way that they have to serve and communicate with their communities. It changes, and it goes back to what we're saying every week. There's so much that we can learn from one another, even if the audiences are substantially different. There are bits that you're going to be able to pick up from each that I think are just one.
I think you've got to look at it like a magnet shaped like that rather than a circle. Because if it's a circle, the same idea is going round and round like a tumble dryer, yeah? And they get boring and they get dried out, yeah? If it's a magnet, you're attracting different ideas all the time. That's the way we change, by different ideas, and you have to have different people to bring you different ideas. Otherwise, we're just chatting the same old rubbish.
Changes. Jerry Lyons, give us your top 5, because you had a top 5 today, and your top 5 today was top 5 things you could avoid.
Do it with your content. With content. It's actually top 7. When I was writing it down, David, and you know what? They all begin with the letter I. David?
Yeah, I'm listening. I'm here.
Okay. So the first mistake people make with their content marketing is they're impatient with it.
Okay.
Right. Second.
Whoa, can we expand on that when you say impatient?
I could just do like a shopping list. Just go impatient.
Well, first they're impatient.
All right. So impatient. They do it for 2 weeks to 4 weeks to maybe 6 weeks and think, why haven't I had loads of leads from it or instructions? It's now, you have an accounts team or an accounts person. You need a content marketing person, or it's just the way it is now. It's not going to change. It's not here today, gone tomorrow. Content marketing's here to stay, and it's a big part of marketing. So be patient. Chris Watkin will tell you the same thing. 6 to 12 months, and then take a view on it, and then you can see. Impatient. Thank you for the little infographic there.
I like to have value as you're talking.
I didn't say invest, but I like that. I should have said invest.
Well, you do know, because what you did actually say is people should have a person that is responsible for content marketing, and that to me is investment either in that person or in the process. Yeah,
no, thank you. Indulgent, and by that I mean I see a lot of bad content is very self-indulgent for estate agents. It's like they're just talking about what properties they're listing, what awards they've won, what I don't mind the new office one so much. When I see a new office, that can sometimes be interesting, but it's all about them, and people don't care about them. They care about what the agent can do for them. So spin the content around and make it less self-indulgent and more focused on the reader, the watcher, the listener.
Not the agent. Look at this.
Look at this. This is so much value. This is like a value bomb. I heard that said today.
Look at that. Look at that. It's like subtitles.
Are you having to go at the accent thing? Number 3, and it's another I, David. Guess what it is? Guess what it is, David boy?
We've had impatient, indulgent, incontinent.
Not really.
Nearly.
I nearly spelled it like that. Inconsistent.
There you go.
Inconsistent. And by that's really simple. I see sometimes somebody will do one good blog. This is normally when an agent is doing their own content marketing. They'll do one good blog and it'd be excellent, or one good video and it's excellent. You think that's really good. And then they've got nothing for 2 months or 6 weeks. It's that inconsistency. Consistent quality across all your marketing platforms, not just content marketing, will win in the end.
One swallow doesn't make a spring, right? You need to keep going.
A good blog once a week, shared with your audience across multiple platforms, kills a fantastic blog that's only sent out once every 2 months.
A blog a week keeps us away.
So do you want to know the 4th I?
Yeah, please.
Invisible. Do you want me to explain?
Yeah. Are you going to disappear now?
I did consider.
It would be so magical if you just went whoosh, and then disappeared in a kind of smoke.
Oh, Kaiser Soze. Invisible is on 2 fronts. You're not doing it at all. I'm amazed at there is quite a large amount of people in the community, the estate agency world, that don't do anything like blogs or vlogs or even little social media posts. I've seen some Facebook pages for some estate agents, because we're dealing with like hundreds a month, and they're really rubbish. They're invisible. They're doing nothing. Right, so that's that. I'll give you another one on invisible as well. If you're invisible on video, I think you have to get on well, I don't think you have to get video as part of your marketing mix now, as you do so well. As you do so well. Number 5.
Go for it.
Illiterate. And this one's a bit harsh, but I was running out of eyes. Yeah, I was running out of eyes. I was like a struggling optician. I was running out of eyes.
Now you obviously you've got no issues with people who are genuinely, lack literacy. But what
Right.
you're saying is,
Yes. And don't even get me started on that, because we've got something coming up where somebody goes, "Oh, you can't shout and point." Listen, shut up. We've got something coming, and that's going to blow a lot of people out of the water, because we think in right. Going back to my diversity point, if anyone wants to track our Canva videos we do for our members, or our images, we make sure there's a diverse range of people there. It's a conscious decision. It's a conscious decision. And we made that decision about 2 or 3 years ago. So if everyone does that, the whole world looks a bit more diverse. Do you know what I mean? So anyway, illiterate, by that, I just mean attention to detail. You've been ignorant of certain facts. Now, I followed this guy's email nurture campaign, and it was really good. I signed up for it, and it was really, really good. I think I'm going to sign up for this course. It wasn't an estate agent, it was somebody else. And then his last email to me was full of spelling mistakes. Well, not full, but it was like 3 or 4. And I thought, you've done so well, but now I'm put off. And I see that sometimes with estate agent content. So illiteracy maybe is I was running out of eyes, David. Come on, give a man a chance.
I'm giving it. Don't worry, it's up there. I've just made it slightly more palatable. Check your spelling and grammar. Check your P's, Q's.
Yeah.
You never get a second chance to make a first impression. And you never know when the client decides to start reading what you're sending in a nurture campaign, because they won't necessarily read the first one. So you need to stay consistent and keep the quality of it top notch.
You're so articulate, you are. And what I would say about that as well is how you do one thing is how people think you do everything, or it can be. I can't even say everything. I said everything.
Richard Taylor, I see plenty of CVs with poor spelling. Is it ever excusable, fellas?
Right, it is. And I'm glad you said that, Richard, right? If somebody's got dyslexia.
Okay.
I really do think that. We've got personal experience at the moment, which has inspired this thing that we're doing that no one else is doing as estate agent content marketing. Before they do and say they are doing it, no one's doing it. We're the first to do this, And it's inspired by somebody's experience with dyslexia. And it's really, I've done a lot of research. I've done a fair bit of research into it. And I would say, if somebody says, look, I am dyslexic. And you're like straight away, like, okay, the spelling is secondary. You're not, unless you're employing them to be a writer, which you're not because it's a state agency, I think it's fine. But as long as I know that, I think if I see it's littered with spelling mistakes.
I think there's a difference, isn't there, between carelessness and unavoidable mistakes that people are going to make because of something that they have to manage. And I think we need to get better at sort of being a bit more patient, because I think in the old days you would look at a CV and go, all right, they've not started it with a capital letter. That's it, in the bin. But it's not an A-levels English exam. It's not.
You know what though?
Estate agency fellas.
I disagree with you, David. I think it's attention to detail. I'm sorry. I think it's attention to detail. But like I said, if there is someone with a genuine learning difference, that's another thing about the power of language. It's not learning difficulty, it's a learning difference. It's just a different way of learning, see the world in different ways. So I would say for me it's excusable if they've said they've got dyslexia. If they haven't and it's littered with it, it would make me think, what else don't they care about if they don't care about
you know what I've also seen on CVs nowadays, which I think will now disappear, and we went through this phase of you just used to send a CV in with very little personal info on about you. It all was professional. Then they kind of stepped that up. They started to do this thing that they do in Europe very often, that when they're sending CVs around, they include like a headshot as well. And then you saw sort of personal interests creeping in as well. So you get to know the person a little bit. It's interesting how these things go.
The next incarnation that's probably happening as we speak in some industries is video CVs, where somebody's saying, hi, I'm John, blah, 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 worked at this agency. Do you know what I mean? I love a video CV. Gets rid of the spelling issue straight away.
Completely. All right, give us another.
What are we up to? I forgot.
I'm up to 5 at least.
Oh, I've got 2 more, David.
Go on then.
Isolated.
Ooh, that's a good eye. That's going on.
By that, what I mean is, I think one of the big mistakes I see with a lot of agents making is they're obsessed with Facebook for some reason. And they concentrate a lot of their efforts and a lot of, we're not getting so much feedback on Facebook. And I don't know. I'm starting to, about a year ago, I started losing interest in Facebook. And it appears other people are, because they're making redundancies, which is normally an indicator that the product or the service is. So don't isolate your efforts to one platform. Look at TikTok. Look at Facebook. I'm not saying don't look at Facebook. Look at Instagram. Look at email. That's probably the big area.
Just pop that on the screen for the people watching on Facebook.
But that's a good point for you guys. All of this stuff that you're doing, all this content, collate it into a weekly roundup with the best people on it, not just everyone, because some of them are a bit boring, and send it out as a weekly update. So then if somebody wants to binge, they just go click. Oh, watch this guy, click, and it's all in one email.
It's all about being where the eyes are. Talking of the eyes, give me one more.
What was the last one? Oh, ignorance.
Okay.
Ignorance is on two things. Right. And this is, I believe that if estate agents are outsourcing their content and it's from a provider who doesn't ring fence and give non-competing agency agreements to them, they're killing themselves. Because if two agents in the same town have got content, the only one that wins is the third agent who's producing fresh original content. So ignorance of area exclusivity, but also, David, ignorance of repurposing content.
Okay.
A good bit of content can be used over and over again. We've got some of our best performing blogs in-house, our own marketing, not for our clients, that are probably 4 years old, and we just dust them up, repurpose them, make them a bit more topical, bang, get them out there again. No one's ever gone, I remember you put that out in June 2018. No one's ever said that. So repurpose whatever content you have as well. Basically, make sure you share this video chat, David, at least 8 times over the course of the next 3 weeks.
Well, I think that's really good advice for agents in general. There's a lot in there, isn't there? And you can tell with having to be with some of the sort of questions that get asked and the kind of answers that you need to give, you need to think about these things really carefully before going live with anything, because it can, just to go back to the original discussion that we've had, what you say, how you say it, how you do it, changes how it's perceived by your audience, and that can very quickly give you the reputation that you don't want. And it doesn't matter what you've done in the past, they'll only judge you by what you're putting out at the moment.
Yeah, in that snapshot of time. Yeah. And then ultimately, I think there is a little, I'm not going to say that. I'm going to find
Ultimately, Jerry started a sentence and just decided to give up.
Yeah. You know, like, do you ever do that? You know, when you're saying something and you're finding yourself boring because you know what's coming, and you think, I'm not going to bother finishing it.
I heard you trying to verbalize something there, and I could also hear, oh no, Wendy Reed is going to shout at me later for saying that, so I'm not going to say it.
Wendy Reed is my partner, is far less PC than I am. She is a proper northerner.
Is she? Where's she from?
Doncaster.
Oh, that is proper north. Yeah.
She took us up there. We went to Sheffield to watch a football match in the Lionesses, and I went to Doncaster, and there was a sign, a big mural. It's always stuck with me because I thought whoever did that understands the people of this area. Because Wendy said she was tearful looking at it. She said that's this area summed up. This part of Doncaster, really rough part she's from. I forget what it's called. I said it to our Doncaster client. He was like, "Ooh," like that. You know, when somebody goes, "Ooh," yeah, not in a good way. We're like, "Ooh," it's "Ooh," and it was love, hope, live, cope, or something like that. But it was the cope thing that Wendy said. We cope living around it. We coped with life. We didn't enjoy it. We coped with it. I thought it's so profound. 4 words. It's beautiful. Do you want another bit of beauty as well?
That was Doncaster's version of live, laugh, love.
Yeah, but it was something like live, hope, love, cope. It was just brilliant.
Talking of North, Tom McGee's with us today.
Tom McGee in the house. TMG, baby. TMG.
Jerry, Tom, now that Tom's on the line, and I always like to leave people with one of your nuggets for the weekend. What are you going to leave Tom McGee with?
With Tom McGee?
Or just one piece of advice that people can. It could be
Russell Crowe said this to a rugby team that he owns. Always look a little bit above the horizon.
Very wise advice. Especially if you're an aeroplane pilot, you might want to constantly look above the horizon.
Yeah.
Stay safe, people. What are you doing this weekend, Jerry?
I've got my sister down from London town, and then Charlotte's got football matches.
Lovely jubbly. Everybody else out there in property world, have a wonderful weekend. We will see you.
Be nice to each other.
Yeah, be kind. Be kind. It doesn't take much to be kind, and you can make your point without, having to get all angry about everything. And
bad thing when it's directed at something that's bad.
Do you know what? I'm all for anger, but you've also got to know when to leave it and move on. And what I mean that we sometimes will try and make a point and then make it again, and that does not progress a conversation any further. I think you need to make your point, make it well, and learn from it. That's David's tip for the weekend. Everybody, take care, stay out of trouble, and no burlesque dancing tonight. None of you, not a single one. I'm warning you.
Bye.
Take care.